Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Alex Gizis, CEO of Connectify, and I am here with Mike Kane, who's one of the developers on Speedify. And this is Office Hours. Now you ask, what the heck is Office Hours? Maybe. This is your chance to ask us questions. So if you have questions, you'll pick up your keyboard. And in the comments, you just type comment, and if you do it on YouTube or Twitch, we magically see it here, and we will answer here. So we're here to answer all of your questions. Most likely about Speedify, but if it's not too far off topic, we can talk about other things. Big news, Speedify 16.1, new release. Depending on your operating system, maybe it came out Monday, maybe it came out yesterday, but it's there now, and it's time for you to update. So, Mike, what's new in this release?
Right, so I mean, we have support for DOH DNS servers in Speedify. So if you go to the DNS portion of Speedify, you can go to custom, you can actually paste new URLs. We have performance and failover improvements.
Well, so it's DOH. Maybe we should just say that.
You might be a little bit more familiar to talk about that one.
DNS over HTTPS. So normal DNS traffic is not encrypted, right? So this is the traffic where you ask, I want to visit google.com. What's its IP address? And you get back the IP address, and then your software actually connects the IP address. Normally, and historically, DNS traffic has not been encrypted at all. So anyone listening in on your internet connection could potentially hear that. Now, Speedify, of course, encrypts everything, but when it leaves our server and hits the internet, then it was unencrypted. So now it's encrypted all the way to the DNS server. So even someone listening in on the DNS server you picked shouldn't be able to know what sites you're visiting. So just another small enhancement in, here we are. So if you click custom, you can now put in an HTTPS URL. If that HTTPS URL is a DNS server, then voila, encrypted all the way through. Right, so we've always been encrypted from your computer to the Speedify server, but with this new option, you get encryption all the way through the DNS server. So just, another level of enhancement. I wish software knew not to pop up boxes asking me if I want to upgrade my software right now when I'm in the middle of a live stream.
I think you'll get that wish soon. You'll get that wish soon.
We'll get that in the future. All right, what else is up?
Oh, so we do have performance and failover improvements, especially around redundant mode. Some reports came in, made some great improvements based on those. We now detect and prioritize Microsoft Teams RTMPS streams, which is added by default. Users don't need to add that, we'll just detect it. And we definitely have better performance and more accurate statistics when running over an internet connection with built-in PEP, such as VSAT satellite connections.
Yes, this is fun, right? So we added in our router version, all the routers running Speedify, we now have a performance enhancing proxy, also known as TCP acceleration, right? Other companies have done this sort of thing before, never exactly the same, and they all call it TCP acceleration or performance enhancing proxy. The VSAT satellites, these are the geosynchronous satellites providing internet service, all have performance enhancing proxies built into their modems in order to squeeze every bit of performance they can out of these satellite links that have half a second or a second, sometimes 2 seconds of latency. So we had a problem where we were getting some of the statistics wrong, particularly latency, when going over these VSATs performance enhancing proxies. So now not only do we have a performance enhancing proxy on our router, all of our versions, iPhone, Android, Windows, Mac, all are more aware when they're running over PEPs, get better statistics and make smarter decisions, which ends up meaning it's more reliable and more accurate. Some other little things on Windows, they changed what happens when you ask what internet connections you have, and it got a lot slower the way we were doing it, but there's a different way to do it which didn't get slower. So we rewrote it. So on Windows, we detect internet connections coming and going a little bit faster and use a little less CPU.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not even a bug, just, Windows changed.
Yeah.
So we had to change with it. So that's fine. And the performance enhancing proxy on the router, whether it's Miri or GLINet, whatever you're using, OpenWRT, it's a lot better. We've been getting real world users using it, over VSATs and all sorts of weird scenarios and, live streaming professional events. And so we, as happens, we got some real improvements in there. If you're on a router, you want to update, man. You want to update. So I was waving this thing around a little bit, just in case you don't know. Here's a question. If only using Wi-Fi, primary is the best option. Interestingly, if you only have one internet connection, then primary, secondary, and backup all turn out to be exactly the same. Yes. Right? 'Cause primary means use this all you want. Secondary means try to use it a little less than primary. You can go ahead and use it if primary is not working or if primary is very slow. And backup means only use it if I absolutely need it to stay online. Turns out, if you only have one internet connection, all of those work out to be the same. You need it to stay online. Yeah. So with only one internet connection, it hardly matters. I guess leave it on automatic. Mm-hmm. And so we'll try to do a smart thing if you get another internet connection. Zaphoid asks, can Speedify be set to give you an alert if things get wonky on your internet? We've been experimenting with that, trying to figure out how to get it right. It is surprisingly tricky, and honestly, different people disagree about what wonky means. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Some people would love to get up to 10 megabits of internet connection, and some people think we failed them completely if they ever only get 10 megabits of internet. Right? It totally depends what you're doing.
Yeah.
So we've done a whole series of experiments, and we haven't gotten it right yet. That's a quick story. With the Speedify command line interface on Linux, Mac, Windows, you can run, Speedify stats. Speedify stats historic is actually very quick. It gives you, the most recent stats. And, I've been playing around. Like, I've been writing Python programs that call that, decide whether or not to alert me. So I'm not going to say that it's coming because maybe there isn't a right answer that works for everybody. Just maybe it is something we think about.
Maybe it can be a custom thing, like alert me if my loss becomes.
And if you have ideas, go ahead and on what those definitions should be. Actually, go ahead and send them. I'm interested. One thing I noticed is when using cake routing queuing on a machine, it seems to mess up when Speed Plus mode is on. So I believe the two compete over the routing and it ends up causing more lag sometimes. I've had other customers say that running cake over us actually improved things. I will say we are using, inside Speedify, we are using essentially, FQCoddle. Which is the thing Cake replaced. We made improvements to FQCoddle to make it aware of multiple internet connections, but meanwhile the people who made FQCoddle just made improvements to it. Mm-hmm. So we have vague plans to bring them back together with a Cake that is aware of multiple internet connections, but doesn't exist today. So I don't know, there could be a conflict, but other people have told me. So Cake, It's a system for deciding when you have an awful lot of traffic to send on your internet connection, like more than you probably could send right now, which to send first, which to send second, which to send third. So we're using FQCoddle. The Cake one, they got a lot of smarts into it, of doing stuff about putting voice calls through first and putting video calls through second, and then putting regular traffic. But even if the video calls really want to use the whole internet, set aside a little bit so the regular traffic still works, even though it's slowed down. Don't ever let them get cut off. And if something claiming to be a voice call starts using more than a megabit, then it's lying. Put it back. It's not really a voice call. Put it back. Like these guys, I'm going to say that the Cake code looks really good. They did a lot of thinking about it. Is this one problem? It seems like such a tiny problem, but to us, it's a big deal. If you have more traffic to send on your internet than you could possibly send through your internet, which do you send? And yeah, they wrote some really smart code. So I don't know. Play with it. If for you running Cake over us makes things worse, then don't run Cake over us. I don't mean to be. I think at some point I'm going to come out here and say we have Cake plus plus built into Speedify. Yeah, so actually, last comment on Cake, which is an interesting thing, that it does all this smart stuff, and it almost always does the right thing, which turns out to make your internet slightly slower on speed tests.
Interesting. Throttles it a little bit, so
It throttles your speed tests a little bit, so that should a call come through, the call will go through.
That's good. I mean, that's real. That's real though.
So it actually makes your internet noticeably better, but it actually also lowers your speed test results a little bit.
It's okay.
It is okay, but it leaves this whole discussion of quality of experience, how to express that as a number. That people talk about this other number that takes into account that your calls don't hang up when you start a speed test, instead of just talking about their speed test numbers. But all right. So Michael says, this might be an easy fix, but I had multiple connections at the beginning of the year. Starlink and 3 major cell carriers tied together with Speedify. When I lost Starlink, my YouTube ended. Yeah, we're just going to have to... Yeah, do you know? Yeah, some people are talking. Do you remember what you had the connection priority set to? Yeah, I mean, I would like you to, if there's some way to try that again, let's do some testing. I mean, get on Speedify 16.1. It is all the latest and greatest, and that shouldn't happen. Now, you shouldn't be in load balancer mode, but I don't think you were. Load balancer mode is a new mode that showed up in 16 that, let's just show this to you. Boop, boop, boop. The bonding mode, local load balancer. When you do local load balancer, it uses your internet connections, and when you start a new upload, download, or video call, it picks one of them to put it on. So it spreads your traffic across a lot of internet connections, and it doesn't need to use a server. So that's kind of cool. Yep. But there's no failover. There's no seamless failover. There's no way to move a call from one internet connection to another without breaking it. So you don't want to use that for live streaming. Honestly, where people can find it useful is when there's a lot going on. A lot of times you have a router with 50 people using it at the same time. Different people will browse on the web, put them on different connections and not have that extra overhead. That can be good because you have so many uploads and downloads going from these 50 people using the web.
Don't throttle.
It's not like you were going to let one of them spread out across 5 internet connections anyway, because there was so much going on. All right. Notifications would be great if you could make it configurable. Example being, if loss is greater than X, then notify. If speeds drop below Y, then notify, so anyone configure the best for them. Yeah. I would really like to figure out a system where it's sort of done right, where, I'm a little afraid that at the moment that you pull an internet connection, there's a fraction of a second where it's like,
Yes.
latency just got worse, loss just got worse, and oh, it's disconnected, and you know what I mean? Like,
You'd be like, ping, ping, ping.
bing, bing, bing. And so we're going to end up having to debounce and things. Yeah. I'll just say it seems like a simple problem, right? But every time I've put together a system to show me notifications if this happens or that happens, either terrible things happen and it doesn't notify me, or I get so many notifications I turn it off.
Yeah, notification fatigue is real.
Yeah, so I hear you guys. I believe there's some possible system here. I haven't quite figured it out. There's this tightrope of the right level of notifications that's not freaking out on you all the time. Yeah, I deleted a whole lot of code earlier this week that I was very proud of 3 weeks ago. I thought I'd figured out notifications, and it was like, God damn, will this thing not stop? Just delete it all. So that's the truth. But anyway, here's that Miri router I was talking about. This is the X510. Solid aluminum, but importantly, it's a router that comes with Speedify. And it has a 5G modem with 4 antennas. You can do 4x4 MIMO, right? So it really, finds the best path to the tower. It has Wi-Fi 6, 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz. And then it also has an additional 4G modem. So it's not just 2 SIM cards sharing a modem, the thing you normally see with people saying 2 SIM cards. It's 2 full modems. You can connect to AT&T and Verizon at the same time. You can connect to Orange and EE at the same time. Whatever it is. Touchscreen, 4 Ethernet ports, all of which can be up or down. You can either have, a bunch of clients hung off this, or you can have a bunch of Starlinks plugged into it. Supports USB devices on the front, so you can hang 4G. You can you can tether phones off the front. And all powered by NPF batteries. Same batteries a lot of Sony gear. I've seen ring lights using the same batteries.
Yes, they do.
So
yes.
a bunch of professional people just have these batteries in their bag already. And it only needs one, which means you can swap them and go
That's really awesome.
hours or days on battery, because you take one off, put it on the charger, put a new one on, take the other off. Just make sure you only take one off at a time.
I lost my internet. Oh, your battery's out.
Yeah. And of course you can plug it in. All right. Getting back to your encrypted DNS feature in Speedify 16.1. Does the default DNS server use the encrypted feature automatically, or do we need to enter a custom DNS server? I believe it uses it automatically. I believe that's correct. I should double check though. All right. Any other questions about Speedify? Otherwise, I think we might rant about something for a few minutes here. So. Is it just me? So we've been using some of these LLM encoding agents, not so much on the core of Speedify, which is this complicated thing that's beyond them, but around the edges, the user interface, the command line tools. Is it just me, or is Apple Swift the language that these LLMs and agents are worst at? Right? I think Claude has real problems with Swift.
I agree.
Am I right?
I agree. I think they all fall short. I mean, you could look at why. Swift came out in 2014, so it's a fairly new language. Both Python and JavaScript are around since the 90s. It's 30 years of code training. So at the core of all these new LLMs, they're all scraping the internet for everything they have. But the problem with Swift is not only does every iteration that Apple releases have breaking changes that you need to go back and rewrite most of your code, that most of the proprietary good Swift is hidden behind private repositories. So you have a lot of open repositories that are generally tutorials, to-do lists, various things like that that don't touch on real Swift development.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's so much Python code on GitHub. I mean, it must be billions of lines of working code.
Yeah.
That
And
these
good
LLMs
code.
can download. Yeah, it's a matter. There's good code and there's not so good. There's all the code.
Yeah.
Where I think Swift, when it comes to iOS apps and Mac apps that are making money, I think they're all written in Swift, but it's so commercial that source code isn't available anywhere.
Exactly. Yep. There's nothing to train these models.
So you go on GitHub and there's very little Swift code.
No, and they're all using dated patterns most of the time. So if you try to use OpenAI or ChatGPT right now and you say, make me an asynchronous function, what it's going to do is revert back to what it knows, which is GCD, Grand Central Dispatch, or completion handlers, and give you workable, outdated Swift code. But the new paradigms of using async await, it's just not going to do that.
Well, so Apple uniquely, I guess because they're power in the market, they come out with a new version every year.
Yes.
And they just break stuff.
Break it. Yep, absolutely.
And they tell you, by the end of September, we're not accepting any apps that don't use the new system.
Yes.
And you can't sell your iOS app anywhere but their app store. And so everyone just goes and rewrites their app.
Yes.
Pretty much every year.
That's
to fit the new stuff. But with the LLM, that means whatever code it finds on GitHub from before that date is wrong.
Exactly.
Right? Python once upon a time, going from Python 2 to Python 3, whatever it was, 2.5 to 3.0, they changed how strings worked and broke everyone's code. And it turned into a decade of people refusing to update from Python 2, right? They didn't have the power to muscle all the Python users to say, you must update, because it was a free open source
what are you gonna do?
library, language. And so people didn't feel pressured, right? So Apple can pressure everybody. You must make the changes or you're not going to make any more revenue. But in open source things you can't, and the LLMs are based on the open source things.
Yes, and partially, if you look back to earlier this year, Apple revamped their code repository. So Apple releases samples at WWDC, and they recently made them all more searchable, findable, structured in its entirety, rather than having to dig through countless links that are sometimes empty. And I think it's to train these LLMs to give them access to Apple's sample code. So they do update that code. So if there's updated models, they will ingest that. But it's hard.
That's interesting that you think Apple is reacting.
I do.
To make sure there's good code for the LLMs to train on.
Because I think they are well aware of their drawbacks in this area right now. They're so far behind all LLM models. In WWDC 24, they previewed Swift Assist, which was co-completion. That shit, that's great. It works okay. They also previewed Swift Assist, where it actually goes to private cloud computing, and Apple wrote your code with you. That never happened. They actually swept it under the rug, and they released Swift Assist with other LLM supports. So Apple's own version.
So can you plug Claude? So Xcode, of course, is Apple's development environment, which you really have to use, right? If you want to compile and install code on your iPhone and debug it, you have to use Apple's Xcode IDE.
Right. You have no other choice.
So can you plug Claude into that? Can you plug ChatGPT into that?
Yes, but with caveats. So you have to update to the latest Mac OS, which is still unstable at this point. But you have to if you want that integration. But not only that, there's no local Apple LLM. So if you plug in OpenAI or ChatGPT, it's the same models you're using on their websites. But this version of Xcode, you can't hit the internet to search new documentation. You can't search internal Apple documentation inside of Xcode. It's basically unusable. It doesn't even have Git access in your own local repository. So Apple restricts all of it, and
so you use it that way?
I personally can't. I try. The Code Assist doesn't work. I have two IDEs, so I'll have VS Code, which is my go-to now, which I used to love Xcode, and Xcode is my secondary. But since Apple's so sandbox, you need both.
So you're running 2 integrated development environments at the same time?
At the same exact time, yes.
So you write the code in VS Code and use your
Yeah.
agents in VS Code, and then you have to go over to Apple's Xcode to compile the code.
Exactly.
And debug the code and find the bug, and then you go back to this one and you fix the bug. That sounds awful.
It's horrible. And not only that, you could give context in VS Code, or if you're using ChatGPT, you can give context to your conversations. In Apple's Xcode, you can't even give it context to answer you. So you can give it documentation with updated GCD code and say, use this. You need to tell it in every chat what to do, how to respond. It's broken.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
So does that put Swift and Swift UI way behind, say, React and Flutter?
Yes. I mean, a lot of these new developers that are coming out vibe coding and putting out Flutter apps and React Native apps are doing so because it's the open sourceness of all of it. You're not going to find that with Swift UI. You're going to find senior developers using it for boilerplate code, but other than that, you're not writing new Swift apps from the ground up with Apple Swift Assist using any models right now. Not to mention the Swift UI portion of it is just completely broken. It doesn't even know what Swift 6 is right now.
Really?
Yes.
So do you know which changes to Swift were the worst? What?
So the right now, Swift itself, the concurrency changes. So Swift 5.1 got rid of the GCD structure, which is the completion handlers, the async structure, and they introduced async await. And then 5.5 came out with more of like the main actor code, which is the modern way to do things, and these LLMs don't know about. It's kind of like if you go back to Objective-C and you had MRR, which is the manual retain release cycle, and then they upgraded to ARC, that's where we're at right now. And these LLMs are still writing manual retain release. It's just old. They were trained on old code.
I mean, there are brutal implications here,
Yes.
right? That because of Claude, because of ChatGPT, we can't just improve our programming language.
You cannot.
Right? I mean, I think any new programming language, if somebody invents a programming language that's twice as good, there's going to be no code
To train it on.
to train it
Exactly.
on. Huh.
Yeah, so we're falling a little bit behind in the Apple realm, where for the first time that I've been talking to a lot of my developers, the Android teams are lapping iOS developers for the first time. Usually it's you hook into Xcode, you can write Swift code ages faster, but now a cursor combined with the Android Studio, it's just, there's no contest now. We're in a weird age.
That is a weird thing. All right, thanks. All right, so people have been posting questions, and we zoned out there so far. We didn't listen. All right. Most LLMs and agents are best for web dev, as well as Python, Java, C++. Yes. It's the widely used languages. It's the languages widely used on GitHub, quite frankly, right? Where people have published their code. I had a fun little experience, I might have talked about this, where I wrote a program using LLMs in Python. I kept changing my mind about what it should do. And it was great. It rewrote the Python again and again. It's like, oh no, add this feature. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to use that. And we went around and around, and finally I got it right. And I said, this is so good, I want to give it to customers. But then I said, I'm not going to give customers this mass of Python code. So I think I actually used ChatGPT for this one because Claude cut me off for using too many tokens. So I basically developed the thing with Claude and then told me I was out of tokens, and it made me sit back and think. And I fired up ChatGPT, and I asked it to rewrite it as nicely structured Rust, and it did.
Nice.
Now I found 4 bugs in the Rust code testing over the next hour. I told it about it, I fixed them. That doesn't have, and now we're thinking this might be a feature we release to people.
That's good.
So you should check out our YouTube shorts, by the way, on YouTube, /Speedify. We've got, one's us talking about these things. One about the Rust versus C versus Python. Talking about the best C code in the world. Talking about how IPv4 addresses are worth more than their weight in gold. Wait, what? Yeah, well, check out the video. Whoa. All right. Yeah, so local user says, not just because of lack of training, but because he optimized them for web dev. I can't prove, but I think it's just training.
I do too. Using it on Flutter and React.
I don't think they're optimizing the LLMs for hardly anything.
Nope.
They are feeding it all of the data it can, and then pitching it for the things that they see it's doing well on. There is less fine-tuning in some ways than you might imagine. All right. Self-hosting new features coming along really well.
Yes.
Really well. A lot of testing. Oh, so one of the features actually in 16.1 that I didn't mention because it was just going to frustrate you guys. 16.1 has complete support for connecting to your self-hosted servers. When self-hosted servers come out, which is going to be soon, they will only work with Speedify 16.1 or later. But Speedify, which connection priorities are you speaking of? All right, let me show you this. Let's pop over. Boop. All right. So these are your internet connections, right? This is the Speedify user interface. We got all these graphs showing different things about your internet connections. These are the internet connections. It's primary, secondary automatic. So if you click on them, you can get here, and each internet connection has a priority menu. Now, priorities in Speedify can be thought of as cost. Okay? So primary means use this connection all of the time. I don't care how much you use it. If you think it would help, use it. Secondary means you can use this connection, but I would prefer you use it a little less than primary. So by default, if you leave things on automatic, which is the default, Speedify will put things that seem like wired connections, things that seem like cable modems or fiber optics, honestly, or Starlink, as primary. Things that appear to be LTE or 4G, it makes secondary. Then backup means only use this connection as a last resort to keep me online. Honestly, if you leave it in automatic, Speedify will put Bluetooth connections as backup. Bluetooth connections are so awful, it is hard to explain. They're barely better than nothing. But usually this would be because it's very expensive. A VSAT satellite link, right, where you're paying, dollars per gigabyte. And, if the other stuff's working, don't use it. And never means don't ever use this connection at all. Which could be because it's so cosmically expensive, you don't want it used. But normally it's because you know that there's an internet connection that's fake in some way. There's a lot of our power users have virtual machines inside virtual machines, and one of their internet connections actually just goes to one of their virtual machines that isn't really connected to the internet. And it can save everyone a lot of trouble if you know you've done something very, very weird and not helpful to just tell Speedify, don't bother with that one. So that is connection priorities. When in doubt, you can leave it in automatic. But not always, right? If you're about to do a live stream where you say, I don't care about cost, you can change all your cellulars to primary.
Yep.
So it'll just use them because you want to go full speed and you don't care about using a little extra data right now. To fix a lot of LLM knowledge, you can give it a RAG. Essentially, extended memory with a more recent document you provide, and you may see better results. Yeah, so an interesting thing, we were playing with this actually. We took all of our support documents and sucked them into a vector store to do RAG. And we made a chatbot that seemed to know so much about Speedify. Knew everything about Speedify, except that when we went with like real problems, like let's pretend that the problem is that, this isn't, this connection's been throttled by my carrier, so my 5G can only go 1 megabit. It never solved any problem.
No.
We would describe the problems, it would tell us all these facts about Speedify, and it never actually helped us solve any problems. So we didn't put it out, right? I mean, we're not going to hit you guys with any technology that doesn't work. So we are looking at this stuff. We are playing with this stuff. And really, really funny, right? It seemed so smart, but then when we gave it actual problems, it couldn't solve them. Which, at some meta level, gets back to this core problem of LLMs that until about 3 years ago, anything that could talk intelligently probably was intelligent. And so our instincts are, if something is speaking intelligently to us, it's probably a person who knows what they're talking about. It's worth trusting them. Well, LLMs can talk intelligently without being intelligent. And so I think we're sort of constantly surprised that this rule of thumb, which is held for the last 100,000 years for our ancestors,
It's new to
no
us.
longer applies, right? Because they're LLMs that talk perfectly and are just full of nonsense, hallucinating away. It was April, May. Would that have been available then?
So this is the user with Starlink set up and then 3 phones attached.
Yeah, give it a try.
So his last one where he mentions...
Yeah, there's been lots of improvements.
So the Starlink set the primary is great, but if you want to set those mobile devices up to primary also, if you're
Yeah,
streaming.
and maybe Starlink is on this, like it's very clear that most people want their 4G as secondary.
Yes.
It's very clear that everyone wants their fiber optic as primary. But the Starlink,
It's too hit or miss to trust it that much.
it's somewhere in the middle. Like it makes me want to level between primary and secondary, and I just stick Starlink there. For a while, there were unlimited data, and that's when we made the decision that they should be primary. But as the caps come in, and more users come on, but then they keep upgrading the technology. Like it's
Cat and mouse a little bit.
right. It's right along the edge. So if you think we're wrong, and your Starlink should be secondary, you don't need to argue with us. Just go in the menu, change it to secondary. I hear you, brother. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no load balancer mode at that time. So. Oh, nice. He was storm chasing. I had the Starlink set to primary, if I remember right. Yes, that would make... Yeah, I think when you get into the storm chasing situation, I think you start reaching a level where you just make everything primary. I think when you're on the move, the Starlink is going to come and go so much. Starlink, it's pretty good when it can see the whole sky. But when you're storm chasing, I think I would try making all of my cellular connections primary as well. Right? Just make everything primary. So, good. All right. Yeah, so again, YouTube, check out our shorts. We got a bunch of them. New videos coming up. People really seem to like watching us sit around and talk about stuff. But I guess you guys understand that because you are sitting around watching us talk about stuff right now. Yeah, all sorts of stuff about LLMs and Rust and yeah. Yesterday we ended up talking about SETI a bunch, but those videos aren't up yet. Michael. He says, a Starlink is unlimited but deprioritized. I think you're 6 months behind. They changed the definition of deprioritized to essentially be rate limited now. It used to be just not high priority. Starlink has been changing their terms and conditions. Deprioritized is now into the lowest bucket It's essentially a rate limit. You can't go full speed anymore, even if it's not busy in the area. They make sure that deprioritized people have a terrible experience. They changed that. Yeah, 6 months ago it might have had better terms. The author of Swift left for that exact reason. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. You know, Apple has this like market strength where they can go to developers like us and tell us, you must change your code. And we must change our code. But in the age of Claude, in the age of, open AI, I can say what they want. So it's another interesting topic for another call is that no giant tech company has ever been destroyed by a direct competitor. Doesn't happen. IBM became a monopoly in mainframes. They are still the kings of mainframes 50 years later. Just nobody cares about mainframes anymore.
So they seem
obsolete. So, no one will ever build a better search engine than Google. No one will ever build a more profitable search engine than Google, for sure. No one is ever going to beat Google at the search engine game. But we might all stop using search engines. See? So yeah, Apple will never lose their lead on cell phones. They've taken over, they have won. The question is, will we still be using cell phones, or will we be using these tiny AI things that go in our ear, or chips in our brain, or something like that? Will we just talk to the AIs? I don't think so. I don't think speech is such a great thing.
I think we're headed
I think I type faster than I talk.
I think pretty soon we're going to see embedded LLMs and PCs that help us change the windows. Do you see the AirPods for next year? They have cameras in them. It's going to be pretty. The future's going to look pretty good.
Yeah, you put it on pause. It's seasonal, of course. Storm chasing. You got it.
Yes.
All right, let's try it again, Michael. When you get a chance.
Storm season.
Hopefully a little bit when you start getting ready for storm season.
Yes.
Come back, give it a try, and tell us so we have an opportunity before you're in front of a tornado to help you twist some knobs and get what we think it is the system that'll work for you. Because I've watched enough storm chasing videos. You don't have time to screw around with Speedify settings when you're in the thick of things. That is really, really cool. Nice. All right, we will be back next Wednesday. No rest for the wicked here. So same time, 10 a.m. Eastern, whatever 47 minutes ago was for your time zone.
We'll be there.
We'll be there. Can Speedify solve Thanksgiving holiday travel issues?
Yes.
Yes, you can sit at home, video conference with your family, and not travel to see them at all.
That was out. Yep, exactly. It works fantastic.
What do you want from me, man? Speedify, haha, I just resubscribed to Speedify. I'm about to mess with it more. Something.
Great.
Good. Yeah, please do. Shoot us email at support@speedify.com. We have Thanksgiving. We're in the U.S., so we are closed for the next 2 days. There will be some support staff online, but in general, most of us won't be around. So that's it. So happy Thanksgiving, or whatever it is in your place. Happy Black Friday. Oh, there's a Black Friday sale. Holy cow. For those of you looking for discounts, thinking about jumping in, speedify.com, go see what the latest discounts are. We've got the sale live now because nobody wants to wake up on Black Friday morning to press any buttons.
Nope.
So go ahead. It's Black Friday now. Check it out. And I think that's it for us. Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. And thank you to all you watching. I know you have choices. Thank you for flying with us. All right. See you all online. Bye-bye, everyone.